friends. Welcome, family. What's going on, Ma? Welcome you guys to a Tuesday edition of the Watch Party here on the Watch List. In case you guys don't know, yeah, we do this thing every day. We'll see when this starts eventually. We do this every day. Glad you guys are here. Yeah, I got it started a little bit late, but not really. I mean, just the preview, or at least the reminder got started a little bit late. But as you guys file in, maybe you guys needed the reminder to see that it's happening. Those of you that don't forget, it's every day at noon Eastern, 9 o'clock on the West Coast, and in the middle of the country, it's 11 a.m. as well. Let's go ahead and get started. There's plenty of things going on. As you guys catch up, maybe you guys can let these other folks know. Sorry, by the way, I did say hi, Ma, but I do want to say one more thing. What's up, Pop? Last night, a little bit, it's not even inside baseball, but just on a personal thing. My father called me last night, pretty late, 11 o'clock at night or so. But of course, I was up, and he says I never give him any shout outs. And apparently, he's a little bit jealous. Mom always gets all the shout outs. So, what's up, Pop? I do let him know every time from time to time that I thought he was watching. If he is, cool. What's up, man? Good to see you. I doubt he's watching right now. But I'm glad you guys are here, though. It's going to be good times. But I do want to start with something that's not necessarily with the video versions of the things that I usually run as we go through these stories. But it is an indication of the way that this administration works. Maybe the theme of this today's hour is how there's a show of things from this administration. This guy is a game show host, the president of the United States. He's a reality show game show host. So he's always been about just presenting something, but not actually being about it. He's got all of his henchmen behind him that are doing all the stuff. He's the puppet and the circus clown in the front that's supposed to keep entertaining the people that follow him while he destroys the country. And there's a perfect example here in Tulsi Gabbard and what it is that she posted. Let's go show you guys this really quick. This is just a good indication of what it is that we're dealing with in this administration. Here, check this out. So Tulsi Gabbard, I saw this right before I came on, so I had to slap it in here really fast. Tulsi Gabbard posted this. Being entrusted with a security clearance is a privilege, not a right. Those in the intelligence community who betrayed their oath to the Constitution and put their own interests ahead of the interests of the American people have broken the sacred trust that they promised to uphold. So she's going after the intelligence community. I wonder which ones. In doing so, they undermine our national security, the safety and security of the American people, and the foundational principles of our democratic republic. This is what she's getting to the point of. At POTUS's direction, she, the ODNI governor or government, directed the revocation of the security clearances of 37 current and former intelligence professionals who have abused the public trust by politicizing and manipulating intelligence, leaking classified intelligence without authorization, and or committing intentional egregious violations of tradecraft standards. Our intelligence committee must be committed to upholding the values and principles enshrined in the U.S. Constitution and maintain a laser-like focus on our mission of ensuring the safety, security, and freedom of the American people. So long story short, Tulsi Gabbard is putting out an announcement saying that she's revoking security clearances for some former intelligence officials because they violated the oath to the Constitution by leaking and all that stuff that she doesn't like. I'm sorry, the dictator Donald Trump doesn't like. Except there's a bit of a problem there. First problem is that they don't give a damn about the Constitution. We already know that. So every time they bring up the Constitution, you can bring up the 75 things they've already violated within the Constitution. So there's no leg to stand on as far as talking about the Constitution. Here's the other part about it, though. One of those people that's in that list of 37 former and current, as she said, intel officials that she's revoking their clearances, security clearances for that they've got. Her name is Yael Eisenstadt. This was her response. First, this is her response back, and then also her full statement. She says, "I'm one of the 37 targeted below by DNI Tulsi Gabbard. I haven't had a clearance nor worked in government since 2013. This is political theater and a dangerous government abuse of power to punish private citizens for openly exercising their First Amendment rights." And then she links to her full statement. Before I go to some pieces of that statement, she's a private citizen. She worked in the intelligence community up until 2013. The thing that Tulsi Gabbard is complaining about at the direction of the stupid ass president, who's a petulant baby, who wants to continue to push propaganda based on absolutely zero facts, is that she was a part of what they're trying to push now to distract more people from the fact that the president was involved in a child sex trafficking ring, that she was a part of this Russia gate that they continue to talk about that has been debunked. And in fact, has been confirmed that there was Russian interference in our elections in 2016, but he wants to defy that because he doesn't like any of the truths about his life being exposed. Here's a piece of Yael Eisenstadt's statement in response. Again, she talked about those things that she hasn't had any security clearances since 2013. She said, I had no involvement with investigating whether Russia interfered in the 2016 elections, an accusation that Gabbard made against the 37 of us in her Fox News interview. This list is therefore obviously political theater and a dangerous example of the government abusing its powers to punish private citizens that are open their rights. That was part of her other statement. I mean, the beginning of her statement. She says, I served this country under 3 administrations, and since leaving in 2013, have continued to prioritize protecting our democracy and national security. I have not hidden beyond anonymity. I have spoken openly and transparently since 2015 about threats to our democracy and national security, including when I publicly warned in 2017 about the dangers of a president politicizing the death of CIA officers. Without any explanation of why I've been targeted, I am left to assume it's because I've chosen to exercise my free speech rights. Again, it's all for show, and we see the distractions. And as I've been saying, the distractions are, yes, they're distractions, but they're also real meat behind it that are dangerous to our democracy, to people's First Amendment rights here. And in other cases that we've seen as they're running up into people's states and cities, their Second Amendment rights, their freedom to move, and then also just their general rights to not be patrolled by military. They're violating so many aspects of our rights, and we're still just sitting on. I mean, I'm saying everyone has, because I'm going to get to the main theme of the show today. Many people are still sitting on their hands waiting for this sign of someone showing them that this authoritarian is here, and the fascist is now in the White House trying to consume all power and get rid of as many rights of ours as possible. This is another aspect of that, but this is part of the propaganda to get those folks that nod their heads and wear red hats to continue to think, oh man, Tulsi Gabbard's doing some things. She's getting rid of those rogue agents from 2016 that went after Russiagate, when one of those folks was done working in 2013. And what they have a problem with her doing is speaking out in 2017 about his illegal activities. So, reason 287 why you should hate Donald Trump. He's a traitor to this country. He doesn't believe in it because he's a criminal. I mean, that's what 34 felony counts told us. So as we move on to now the video portion of this hour, I want to say thank you to you guys who jumped in. I wasted a couple minutes there, but it was important stuff to talk about. Hope you guys have seen the notifications, see that we're here. Go ahead, share the stream and let more folks know. Hit notifications in case you need to find out that we do this every day. Matter of fact, the last small announcement, I'm like late to this. It's August 26th. I started doing this June 24th. So we've had a solid 2 months and now two days doing the new Watch List Watch Party Hour. I sat in here and I said, I'm just going to talk for a few minutes. I have some stories that are stacked up. I'll run a couple of videos and I'll give some responses. Maybe that'll be just a little different change of pace here. It's been 2 months straight. Thank you guys for still showing up. And thank you for the audience continuing to grow. It will continue to do that if you guys let more folks know what's happening, how we're doing it, and the fun times going on here. But we'll let's jump into the reasons why you guys all came. I just want to let that be known because I want to keep track of how long I've been over preparing as I did this morning. Let's go straight into this. This is Donald Trump's economy. In case you guys didn't see Jerome Powell, head of the Fed, talking about some of the dire things that we're approaching, what we're seeing, and that many folks have been predicting even before this guy got into office. Here's Jerome Powell.
While the labor market appears to be in balance, it is a curious kind of balance that results from a marked slowing in both the supply of and demand for workers. This unusual situation suggests that downside risks to employment are rising. And if those risks materialize, they can do so quickly in the form of sharply higher layoffs and rising unemployment. At the same time, GDP growth has slowed notably in the first half of this year to a pace of 1.2%. Roughly half the 2.5% pace in 2024. The decline in growth has largely reflected a slowdown in consumer spending. As with the labor market, some of the slowing in GDP likely reflects slower growth of supply or potential output.
So that's boring finance talk. That basically, as Jerome Powell went through some of the issues going on with our economy, went over the labor market and GDP. The slowing labor market, as we saw, was going on right before Donald Trump fired the commissioner of the Bureau of Labor Statistics, that gave those stats that he didn't like because there was too much truth behind them. That was what he was referring to as far as our slowing labor market and also our slowing GDP. It's all troubling. He wasn't done yet because there's multi layers to the problems going on that we're seeing on the horizon. Here's more.
Tariffs have begun to push up prices in some categories of goods. Turning to inflation, higher tariffs have begun to push up prices in some categories of goods. Estimates based on the latest available data indicate that total PCE prices rose 2.6% over the 12 months ending in July. Excluding the volatile food and energy categories, core PCE prices rose 2.9%, above their level of a year ago. Within core, prices of goods increased 1.1% over the past 12 months, a notable shift from the modest decline seen over the course of 2024. The effects of tariffs on consumer prices are now clearly visible. We expect those effects to accumulate over coming months, with high uncertainty about both timing and amounts. The question that matters for monetary policy is whether these price increases are likely to materially raise the risk of an ongoing inflation problem. A reasonable base case is that the effects will be relatively short-lived, a one-time shift in the price level. Of course, one time does not mean all at once. It will continue to take time for tariff increases to work their way through supply chains and distribution networks. Moreover, tariff rates continue to evolve, potentially prolonging the adjustment process.
Again, more finance Treasury Secretary talk. I'm sorry, not Treasury Secretary. That's Jerome Powell, head of the Fed, talking about our issues now with also inflation and the effects of tariffs. It's going to be gradual, as we've already seen. So when you see prices for things go up by 30 cents at the store for just a small item or $1 here, and you notice that you're spending more in normal places where you always would before, the response has been from the folks who are trying to defend these policies that it's only grown by so much. It's only a little bit. But what about in comparison to, but not so much, but in comparison to previous years, it's growing exponentially at a rate at the same period of time. And just because it's not crazy amounts that you see a jump $1 or $2 for something that used to be $1 or $2, because something that was $2 then jumped to $2.37, you're like, oh man, it's not that big of a deal. It's because it takes time, and they expect people to not realize that as we end up paying more and then more and then more, and at the same time, people lose jobs, which we're seeing, of course, and then companies have a harder time fulfilling their orders and production costs and all these things because of this trade policy that he's continued to push. Things get horrible, but it's happening even faster than it would if he wasn't doing it this way. It's who he is. So he's been mad at Jerome Powell, who was just speaking there, because he's not ready to lower interest rates, which would really only happen under a horrible economy, which maybe he's now thinking about doing because that horrible economy is now on the horizon. But at the same time, Donald Trump wants to say everything is wonderful, golden age. You never had more jobs before, never seen anything like it. All those stupid declarative statements that he makes all the time, he just says them and expects people to believe it. So because he can't fire Jerome Powell, what he's going after is to change all the people that are on the board of governors in the Fed. One of those is Fed Reserve Governor Lisa Cook. You guys may have heard about how he wants to fire her. If you hadn't, here's a little quick moment when he did.
Trump, you're going to fire Lisa Cook, the Fed governor, over her
Yeah, I'll
mortgage
fire her
fraud?
if she doesn't resign. Yeah, what she did was bad. So I'll fire her if she doesn't resign.
The president of the United States just said, I'm going to fire Fed Governor Lisa Cook because what she did was a bad. I'm going to fire her if she doesn't resign. I feel like the reporter should have said, what did she do? He doesn't know. He has no idea. He just heard he's supposed to fire her so that he can, replace her. That's the whole idea. So he also put out this letter. And since she, didn't resign, he said he's going to then fire her. It's another one of these, except it's more of a direct letterhead. He probably should just post this on Truth Social like he does every other policy that he's talking about. But he says he has this authority under Article 2 of the Constitution of the United States and the Federal Reserve Act of 1913 as amended. He says, you are hereby removed from your position on the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve, effective immediately. He has to do this as by cause, and he doesn't know the cause because as you saw him say there, she did a bad stuff. So again, as dictators work, he doesn't have a reason. He has accusations from someone that's been accusing anyone that his political enemies or anyone that he wants to get rid of for political opportunity to destroy more things as quickly as possible, hoard more money, and make it seem like things are glorious. That's why people keep getting fired that step out of line by, telling the truth. So I was happy to see this because Lisa Cook responded with this statement. She said, President Trump purported to fire me for cause when no cause exists under the law, and he has no authority to do so. I will not resign. I will continue to carry out my duties to help the American economy as I've been doing so since 2022. Trump's attempt to fire Cook may very well be on a collision course with recent Supreme Court rulings from May, because in that case, the court ruled that the president could remove 2 members from their respective government boards. Here's those 2 boards: the National Labor Relations Board and the Merit Systems Protection Board. In case you guys aren't following, the National Relations Board and the Merit Systems Board are not the Fed. So, however, the court suggested that the president does not have the authority to remove Federal Reserve Board members. Wild how the Supreme Court said that. Last line from Cook. The Federal Reserve is a uniquely structured quasi-private entity that follows the distinct historical tradition of the first and second banks of the United States. I'm sorry, that's what the court wrote, not Miss Cook. They are just doing whatever they want. So the good news about that is, as I've said, the point here is folks are fighting back. Lisa Cook said, hell no, you can't fire me, and I'm here to continue to do the work and continue to bring actual reality to the perspective for the American people, because that's what I was placed on this board to do. So in stupid form, here comes Howard Lutnick to talk about it. Someone asked him over on CNBC how he feels about this rejection of their latest power grab.
Mr. Secretary, I do need to pivot to a different question around Lisa Cook, governor at the Fed, who has been fired by the president for cause. She says she's not going and that he doesn't have the authority to do such a thing. You're obviously in the administration, close to the president, also understand how the wheels of just the machinery of the government work. Who pays her paycheck, for example? Is that something that has to come directly from the Fed? Is that something that Chair Powell will have to turn off, if you will? Does she have a pass to get into the building as somebody turns on or turns off? And who does that?
So, I don't know the details of who has her paycheck or not. But the issue is a federal government, a governor of the Federal Reserve, literally signs her name and commits mortgage fraud, right? It's alleged that she's committed mortgage fraud, and she says, I'm not going anywhere. Well, the crook always says, I'm not going anywhere. And why would anybody defend that? The real question should be, did she commit mortgage fraud, yes or no? And if you did commit mortgage fraud, please get out of the federal government, get out of the seat of the governor of the Federal Reserve, and go away. You don't deserve to be there if you've committed mortgage fraud. Right? It's black and white. If you've committed mortgage fraud, you shouldn't be a governor of the Federal Reserve.
This is a domino effect. One of the reasons I'm asking you this question about who needs to turn off her badge or turn off her paycheck is if the answer is that ultimately Chair Powell is the one responsible for that and he chooses not to, then the secondary question becomes, does the president try to fire him for cause?
Well, these are all what-if scenarios. The answer is the Department of Justice will go take this on and deal with this. But
Howard Lutnick has no idea what he's talking about. He's just said that the president said that that's what he wants, therefore that's what should happen. He even admits it in there because he's a dummy. I guess, I guess the Department of Justice would have to go, even when asked directly, it would have to be Jerome Powell to rid her of her position, not the president, not you, and not the corrupt Department of Justice now run by the president. None of those folks. That's why he's trying to go in this step, because he already threatened Jerome Powell 85 times. That's how he operates. But Howard Lutnick is just talking about how, hey, he mentioned it. This is what he said. She signed her name and allegedly commits mortgage fraud. And he said, if you did that, did she do it? Or are you asking if she did? It's weird how this whole thing that, that Stephen Miller said months ago he's looking to get rid of in this country, which I guess they've gotten to that point of, is this due process thing, where you have to adjudicate whether or not your accusations against your political enemies are actually true or not. The things that happened against Donald Trump that were adjudicated through multiple courts and found him guilty of all of those things, but they still said that was fake news. But those 34 felony counts still hold, but they can just accuse anybody of anything and say, get off the board because Donald Trump doesn't want you there. I'm going to show you why Donald Trump doesn't want her there. They talked about this on MSNBC, and they point out very clearly why he doesn't want her there, because it doesn't have much to do with this flimsy accusation that has not been adjudicated at all.
Her term officially began in 2022 in May, and she was confirmed for a full 14-year term that extends to 2038. She has held roles at the Treasury as part of the Council on Foreign Relations. She was a National Research Fellow at Hoover Stanford Institute. She's advised the governments of Nigeria and Rwanda on finance and development. She is qualified for the role, which is why she was confirmed.
So let's set the table with that background of the member of the board who has a 13-year term, if you consider this year almost done. That's what Trump ultimately wants, because whoever he gets to replace her with will serve out the rest of her term and have that whole time.
And that's the key. Michael Steele then pointed out she's at the beginning of her 14-year term. Donald Trump says, I can appoint some lackey to kiss my ass like Howard Lutnick does for the next 13 years. This will be wonderful. Let me go after her. And it doesn't hurt that she's extremely qualified. She's a black woman who he just said yesterday, all the black women just love me. They've been wanting me to come to Chicago for a while, except for the fact 98% of black women in this country give him so many middle fingers, he doesn't know what to do with them. So, but still, he targets them at any chance that he gets. And this is just another one. But she's in a perfect position for him to take over and have some idiot come in for 13 years and do his bidding, regardless of the destruction that he unleashes on the country. Definitely has nothing to do with anything else. He acts like no one can see through all of his lies. But this is really where the problem hits for this guy. The reason he needs, let's connect all the dots. The reason he needs to replace people on the Fed board so that he can have some more pressure as far as changing interest rates to make things look better than they actually are. As people lose jobs, inflation continues, tariffs destroy people's lives, companies fold, larger companies raise their prices, and then you pay more with less money coming in every time. And then, then they invade your cities and your states with the extra money that they've taken in from you. You're paying for your oppression. The problem is he doesn't want more of these stories to come out and people go, whose fault is this?
Walmart warning this morning it's raising some prices because of tariffs. This comes with the company just releasing a new report about its outlook for the rest of the year.
Wolf, America's largest retailer, largest employer, and really a bellwether for the U.S. economy, posted strong sales growth in the second quarter, but definitely faced some headwinds from tariffs. And we saw that profits in the second quarter did not meet Wall Street's expectations. And that's actually why you see Walmart's stock down right now about 4.5%. Listen, tariffs was the big point of conversation on this 1-hour call with investors. A lot of questions about what price pressures were going to be trickling down to consumers. You had the CEO, Doug McMillon of the company, saying that so far tariff impacts have been gradual, so consumers haven't reacted so much to price hikes, but where they're now putting out post-tariff inventory, and they're going to see price level increases on a week-to-week basis. So that's obviously concerning for the company.
Price hikes on a week-to-week basis. So you may get 25-cent price hikes on something. The next week it might be back to it might another 10 cents. So then another 30 cents after that. It all depends. No one really knows. It's this thing that they keep talking about from those, brainy, boring people like Jerome Powell keeps saying. It's uncertainty. No one knows. But what they do know, it's heading in the wrong direction consistently. And people and companies, corporations, huge ones like Walmart are raising their prices, and they're going to be fine, by the way. They're raising their prices because, as you heard, Wall Street didn't expect this little of a profit from them. So they've got to do something about it. They're not losing. They just don't have enough profit. Think about that the next time we keep giving away more of our money to rich people, billionaires, and huge corporations like Walmart. They're not making enough money. Not that they're not making money. It's not enough for the stock markets to do what it is that they want to do as far as make more money off of that. That's one of the stories of consistent price hikes that this president is trying to avoid and trying to manipulate the numbers and the reality on by firing people for absolutely no cause. There's other industries that are suffering also under Donald Trump. I'm just going to give you guys another example.
More of America's family farms are going bankrupt. Researchers at the University of Arkansas finding that more than 250 farms filed for Chapter 12 bankruptcy between April 2024 and this March, marking a drastic increase in financial distress. According to the data, nearly 90 farms filed for bankruptcy in the first quarter of this year, almost double the number from the same quarter in 2024. Analysts are contributing the rise to a handful of factors, including inflation, higher interest rates, and labor shortages, which are being exacerbated by President Trump's mass deportation campaign.
It hits every level. So not only his policies as far as tariffs and trade policies that affect these farms that are now filing for bankruptcy at a rate that's double of what it was from a year ago, they also have their mass deportation issues. Those promises of getting rid of all of these violent, illegal, criminal aliens that is now swept up to 15-year-olds standing in front of their school in Los Angeles, or 60-year-old women on this at corners selling fresh fruit, things like that. Gardeners, people that work in some of these farms, which I will say it again, they're being exploited and we should pay them. But that would force corporations and rich people and a bunch of people with tons of money to pay what they should pay. It's this thing that neither party really ever wants to do. That's a whole separate conversation. But more on the whole farming thing, because I want to remind you guys of this huge company. His name is John Deere. Donald Trump talked all the time about what he wanted to do with John Deere on the campaign trail. I'm gonna get to that in a second. But we just talked about these farms filing for bankruptcy at high rates. There's something else that John Deere is doing in response to these tariffs as well, too. John Deere has been hit hard by President Trump's tariffs. Weird how tariffs keep coming up for negative news. The farm equipment manager and an industry bellwether just announced mass layoffs, affecting more than 200 workers at 3 Midwestern plants. The company set to fire 115 employees at a facility in East Moline, Illinois, later this month. Next month, 52 workers at a facility in Moline, Illinois, again, not East part, and then 71 employees at a facility in Waterloo, Iowa, will also be terminated. John Deere is feeling the pain from Trump tariffs, that good old American company. There's more. As stated on the most recent earnings call, the struggling ag economy continues to impact orders for John Deere equipment. That's what the company said. They said this is a challenging time for many farmers, growers, and producers and directly impacts our business in the near term. So in that same earnings call, John Deere attributed a slowdown in Q3 sales to customer cautiousness and Trump's freewheeling tariff policy. That thing that he kept saying wasn't going to affect any businesses, nor consumers, nor customers, nor anybody else except for the foreign people who send stuff in. Last little part of this story about John Deere suffering under Donald Trump's, economy. The primary drivers for the change from last quarter are increased tariff rates in Europe, India, and steel and aluminum. That's what the company's director of investor relations said. Lastly, estimating that tariffs have already cost the company $300 million this year, he forecasted a full year tariff impact of nearly $600 million. I'm just wondering when when the golden age is going to begin, because it's the end of August. We're going into the fall, and the golden age hasn't started yet. But what has happened is we've had a solid month of him finally settling in on some of the tariffs that he's been pushing back and reneging on and going the other direction on, and pausing and pushing and increasing and decreasing through all these other countries with zero reason behind it. We've seen interviews about that. And as things are finally starting to kick in and become more settled, because he's done with his 90 deals in 90 days, which were never deals in the first place, people are going to start feeling these effects even more. And they feel like they've delayed all summer and make people think it hasn't been that bad. It hasn't been that many changes. Here it comes. This is Donald Trump during the campaign trail. I remember I ran this when it was happening. And since we just talked about John Deere, let's have a little bit of a revisit to that moment.
They announced about a year ago they're going to build big plants outside of the United States, right? They're going to build them in Mexico.
And you threatened
They're
them with
also going to
tariffs
build.
and they stopped.
That's right. I said, if John Deere builds those plants and not selling anything into the United States, they just announced yesterday they're probably not going to build the plants, okay? I kept the jobs here, and I'll keep them. John Deere will stay here.
I kept the jobs here. John Deere will stay here. I mean, except for those 200 employees just in that little region in the middle of the country that are getting laid off because John Deere can't afford. No, let me rephrase that. Not that they can't afford to pay them. They can't earn as much if they continue to pay these folks. So they're closing down certain aspects of their operations because of that same tariff threat that he said, if he threatens John Deere for leaving and starting to have some manufacturing production in Mexico, he's going to tariff them 400% and they'll stay. They stayed. Now jobs are being lost. So what makes anybody think that when that paltry jobs report came out that Donald Trump got very upset about and said was fake news, it makes sense to match up with reality? If you look at news reports and understand that people you may have known and seen in your lives are losing their jobs, normal manufacturing jobs, good old American grit jobs, blue collar stuff, and then those jobs reports are indicated in those findings, and the guy fires the commissioner of it who had nothing to do with compiling those jobs reports directly, what you'll see is a fascist that's trying to manipulate your reality as you live your own, because he needs to keep looking good. And in response to that, he'll brag in your face about how he's stealing your money.
I was very happy that today, as you saw, the group that does this, a government group, radical left group, announced that Trump was right, took in $4 trillion worth of tariffs. That the $4 trillion are going to reduce the deficit by numbers far greater than they ever expected or heard of. And by the way, the stock market went up 1,000 points. That was as of 10 minutes ago. I can't tell you what happened. A lot of things happened. But the stock market's up almost 1,000 points. And it's basically on the news that the release that just came out from government that the tariffs that everybody was talking about, that the whole world respects us for because of what we did. The tariffs are going to be at $4 trillion. They're going to reduce the deficit by $4 trillion, Mr. Vice President.
Pretty good, sir.
Too bad it's not 5, right?
That's right.
It's had a huge impact, and the stock market is way up. But this will drive more than.
So somebody should tell JD Vance he's got some shit on his tongue. He's, probably clean that off. So he's going to brag to the American citizens that he's taken in $400 trillion of your money. And it's going to go, what did he say it's going to go to? I don't know if you guys remember if he said it's going to go to the debt and deficit. Last piece on this, I promise. I know this is the boring section of the whole show, but sometimes we have to understand why a main driver in the destruction of so many people's lives, where it comes from. And there's a lot of dots to connect. I'm telling you, I'm tired of reading it myself. It's so much of it to go through. But this is where the destruction of your lives begins economically, as he talks about how he brought in $400 trillion to bring down the debt and deficit. Remember that. Remember those terms. The national debt eclipsed $37 trillion. sooner than the pre-pandemic projections. The Congressional Budget Office's January 2020 projections had gross federal debt eclipsing $37 trillion after fiscal year 2030. But the debt grew faster than expected because of a multi-year COVID-19 pandemic starting in 2020, when Donald Trump was in office, that shut down much of the U.S. economy. That was all natural to happen with so many people and so many countries, where the federal government borrowed heavily under then President Trump and former President Joe Biden to stabilize the national economy and support a recovery. All that's normal makes sense right now. This is where then Donald Trump came in for his second term. And now more government spending has been approved after Trump signed into law that Republican tax and spending legislation, that big ugly bill earlier this year. That law set to add $4.1 trillion to the national debt over the next decade. Isn't it weird? It's set to add $4.1 trillion to the national debt. He's bragging about bringing in $4 trillion, which he says he eventually will. $4 trillion in as far as tariffs from American companies and American consumers. It's almost like you're paying for all that money that's going to rich people, and you're losing your health care over it, and you're losing social safety nets over it, and you're losing your rights over it, and you're losing everything that your tax dollars are supposed to go to, infrastructure programs, because he thinks he can pull and give and take away money anytime he wants to. You're paying $4 trillion for him to give money away to more people and continue to control more power over your life. One more part about this. I'm sorry, there's one more piece. Wendy Edelberg, a senior fellow of economic studies at the Brookings Institution, said Congress has a major role in setting in motion spending and revenue policy, and the result of the Republicans' tax law means that we're going to borrow a lot over the course of 2026. We're going to borrow a lot over the course of 2027, and it's just going to keep going. The Government Accountability Office outlined some of the impacts of rising government debt on Americans: higher borrowing costs for things like mortgages and cars, lower wages from businesses having less available to invest, and more expensive goods and services. It's weird. It's almost like people have been saying this when he was first running on putting tariffs on everything. It's weird how reality matches up with people who knew what they were talking about when he didn't know what he was talking about. And maybe even he did, but he knew he could pull the wool over enough people's eyes because he said trans people, black people, illegal immigrants. And all these idiots' heads were spinning in their hate, and they don't realize that he was reaching around and picking their pocket. That was a long time, huh? I just thought I'd break it down for you. And not because I'm some kind of economic genius or an economist who went to school for this stuff, but because there's this weird thing I do. I read. And then when somebody who did go to school for all this stuff, and people who do this work that don't speak like Donald Trump and Howard Lutnick's dumbass, you pay attention to the people who know what they're saying, and they'll mention what it is that's happening, what will happen, what's more likely to happen if certain things continue the way that they go. That's all. I was wanting to talk primarily about the resistance that should be become pretty widespread in this country. I keep seeing quotes sometimes of people said something like, what radicalized me, compassion, normalcy, democracy. That radicalized me because the radicals are taking over our cities. And I just wanted to highlight some folks that are now beginning to push back. I don't know how successful these initiatives are becoming, but I did want to tell you guys, because it's frustrating sometimes to not see people doing something in response. But there's a couple of veterans that are doing something in response, primarily right here, right not here, but in this video here in DC.
This is not a drill. This is a military occupation on American soil using the American military. Putting our National Guard, activating our National Guard in 19 more states after already having 2,000 troops on the ground in DC. This is a military occupation, and we cannot stand for it. The time for words has came and gone. It is now the time for actions. As a veteran to this country, as an Army veteran, I took an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. And I will use my rights under that Constitution to speak out against this military occupation. I am looking for other veterans to join me. Here's the only details I'm going to give you. This is not going to be a one-day action. This is going to be a sustained action. So I need you, if you want to join us, to clear your schedules. Number two, this action is going to be happening very, very soon. I'm not giving you any more information. Either you're in or you're out. If you're in and you're watching this on Instagram, I want you to comment, count me in, and I will DM you a link to register.
In case you guys don't know, that's Jolly Good Ginger. He's a popular social media guy and also veteran of the United States, I believe, Army. But he has been talking. He's been detailing things that go on in our country and our world. And now he had this call to action for fellow veterans to come meet him or at least sign up for this call to action, which he was being very secretive about. I mean, you know, you have to get the views up and get people to wonder what the hell's going on. So once what's going on began, another popular online social media guy was talking about it from the site where they met up in Washington, D.C.
Some big news right now. Veterans at Union Station are about to start a massive sit-in. Essentially, they're not leaving Union Station until the military occupation, in their words, in Washington, D.C. ends. Right now, there are about 10 veterans, but this number is expected to grow, according to organizers, to the hundreds. They're going to be marching across the city right now, and that's only going to get bigger and bigger throughout the day and throughout the week. So United States veterans are actively protesting what's happening in Washington, D.C., the National Guard takeover of Washington, D.C. There are some guardsmen actually right behind me over there. National Guard is now carrying weapons in Washington, D.C., and clearly veterans are saying, no, we're in front of Union Station. These veterans are about to start a major sit-in, and they're saying they're not leaving until, well, the National Guard leaves as well. So this could be a several month sit-in.
It could get a little bit more confrontational. Again, so first of all, I'm not in Washington, D.C. I don't know how that's gone. I believe it began a day or two ago. I don't know how many people he's compiled there. I'm not sure how many veterans have showed up yet. I'm not sure how many folks have signed up yet. I'm not sure if it's going to increase next week or if it's going to fizzle out. Who knows, right? So this isn't like a let's go Jolly Ginger, wasn't it? Jolly Good Ginger rally cry. This is someone trying to do something. We'll see if it materializes. But the good thing about this is they would have to continue to, in their faces, disrespect our veterans that they say they care so much about. These folks that he's unleashing into the streets, these National Guards troops, these folks from other red states like Louisiana, West Virginia, and a few others, they're sending their National Guard troops into DC, and now they're thinking into Chicago next. And it's going to highlight just how against normalcy and how many veterans that they keep claiming are all on their side are actually against this, because they do have a connection to the oath that they made to this country. And that's why people, when you see them in the airports, they're like, thank you for your service, sir. Because apparently they do things that many of us won't. And as he sends them to terrorize American citizens, like you'll see some of these law enforcement folks do here, they're standing up against it. This is why they need to be in DC.
Community safety. I'm going to get names and badges of officers. I'm going to be one opportunity. What? For what? Stop resisting. Stop resisting. Are you fucking serious? I'm under arrest.
Yes, sir. Dude,
Bring that arm back. Stop resisting. Stop resisting, sir.
what is he under arrest for? What? Sir, do me a favor.
Next, you better back up.
Please don't come over here.
You gonna be next.
I'm standing right here.
You're
on the street. I need you on the sidewalk over there.
Are you fucking serious? No, I'm not spitting at all. I'm counting. After the trials are held, you will all be in jail.
Sir, in order to get on the sidewalk, you stay on the street. If you do not get on the sidewalk, then you will be arrested.
Serious?
Failed to
Video is filming
Am I on the sidewalk?
So that normal, regular DC resident was filming these law enforcement officers who've been federalized by Donald Trump's Gestapo, and then made sure that they're asked them questions: what is they're doing here, what their reasons are for detaining and harassing and terrorizing the city, and that results in your arrest. I don't know, man. This is I don't know how many people think this way, but it's good that guys that look like that citizen are getting in the streets more. This is what happened also in 2020 when folks took the streets all over the place. You saw more than just the normally oppressed people of this country taking to the streets, because many of these oppressive regimes, they figure, yo, if we see brown folks in the streets, black folks in the streets, anybody else that we've traditionally oppressed in this country, the majority of society will look at them and go, look at them again, complaining about what's going on. Can't believe it. But if you see people that look more like the majority of the people that they tend to think support them, it doesn't look so good when you just arrest a bearded, hipster looking guy in the middle of DC for standing in front of you. And he'll say the things that other folks won't say. Man, when the trials come, they're going to get you, all that stuff that you may see out of a movie. I'm glad he's doing it. I'm glad he's doing it. It may even seem a little corny, but I'm glad he's doing it. And it sucks because he had to go through they say he spent 48 hours in jail in DC. And this is what he said upon his release from that jail, and what it is that he experienced and what it is that he thinks needs to happen next.
So, this buildup of Trump's personal army in this city has nothing to do with crime. The people that I was in there with are not criminals. They were some of the kindest, funniest, nicest people who lifted me up at my lowest points because I had a hell of a time in there. I do not want to hear one more politician, one more news pundit say that we are edging towards tyranny or that we are on the verge of fascism. Fascism and tyranny are here. In all of their terrifying forms. It is up to us to surround it and destroy it.
Again, it's the kind of approach that I think will appeal to other folks who generally like to sit on their hands and go, it might get bad one day, when it's been bad for decades, for generations, for many of us that have lived here. We've seen our ancestors go through the oppression. We've seen them go through the lack of any law, any due process, for just being in the wrong place at the wrong time, being stopped and frisked, being shot in your cars and in your homes and walking down the street, and being in the wrong neighborhood when asked, what are you doing here? Being killed by other citizens that then get backed by law enforcement that say he must have been doing something wrong. I mean, he's black. I mean, he is an immigrant. I mean, he is brown. Those excuses tend to go away when you see guys like this then having to come out and say, my rights are being taken away. And so when he then says, we're seeing fascism, maybe the people that like to keep saying fascism doesn't exist within Donald Trump's dark heart, they'll have to go, I mean, but he said it. It must be true, because people relate to folks that look and sound and act and are from the same places that they're from. Because as was mentioned before, once fascists start coming for brown folks, disabled folks, immigrants, they run out of people to go for. It's like capitalism. They run out of money to take, so they got to find new ways to steal it. Then they come after more folks. They said, you're a traitor to the people that we're supposed to be the superior race here. And they come after you too. But, if that guy did come off kind of corny, I understand that. But the problem is whose side would you rather be on? The guy who came out talking about how fascism is actually here and he doesn't want to hear any more politicians or journalists talk about how it's on the horizon? Or would you rather be on the side of the guy who looks and sounds like this Weasley sumbitch here?
President Trump has literally set the people of Washington, D.C. free. They're so happy now that they can just go out and live their lives, go to their favorite restaurant, go to their favorite bar, go to the favorite pool hall, go to the favorite park. You see moms taking kids out to parks they haven't been to in years because they know the police are there. They know that President Trump is there with his law enforcement to protect them. It's a thing of beauty, Sean. But I would say to the mayor of all these Democrat cities, like Chicago, What you are doing to your own citizens is evil. Subjecting your own citizens to this constant bloodbath and then rejoicing in it is evil. And you should praise God every single day that President Trump is in the White House. President Trump.
Nobody wants to be on that guy's side. As he whines and complains and says, how dare you black leaders of these cities put your citizens through this? What are you putting your citizens through? It's a constant change of direction. It's a misdirection of your attention. It's supposed to be on the traditional people that they've always deemed the worst of us, who they've always targeted, because that's an easy way out. It's an easy oppression. I mean, look, he's black. He must be the criminal. Did that guy who came out angry look like the criminal to the folks who tend to think that way? There's more veterans that also joined Jolly Good Ginger out in their protests. And one was in direct response to Donald Trump talking about flag burning. I'm not sure if you guys saw Donald Trump talking about flag burning. I'll get to that in a second. But first, I want to show you guys what this one veteran, Russell Ellis, then did right in front, right in the middle of DC.
My name's Jay Carey. I'm a retired disabled combat veteran, served over 20 years in the United States Army. I fought for every single one of your rights to express yourself in however you feel that you may want to express yourself. There's a First Amendment right to burn the American flag. Archdiocese in that house right there signed an executive order saying that it was illegal to burn the American flag. No president can make a law, period. No Congress will make a law infringing on First Amendment rights. I'm burning this flag as a protest to that illegal fascist president that sits in that house. Do this for every single one of you American citizens. We burn this flag in protest to that president who feels that it's his right to do whatever he wants, make whatever law he wants, regardless if it's legal or illegal. Go away. Go away. Go the fuck away from me. Fuck it. What the fuck? Once again, my name is Jay Carey. I am a 20-year combat veteran, having served in the United States Army. It is our First Amendment right to burn this flag, regardless of what the president says. Yeah, that's what I thought. Nobody will enforce those illegal laws that president tries to make.
20-year veteran in the Army stood up in front there and burned the American flag. You know, it's egregious. Oh my God, it's so horrible. It's nothing new. We've seen American flags get burned over the years from all kinds of conflicts, from things with the U.S. government, our involvement in overseas conflicts. We've always seen it. And for some reason, people like Donald Trump, who continue to live in this weird alternate reality of, oh my God, if someone burns the American flag, a piece of my soul burns. Oh my God, I can't believe it. So this was in direct response, that veteran talking out there and doing that and shoving one guy away. Was doing it in response to Donald Trump's executive order that he signed that you'll soon find out he doesn't know what he's talking about. But this is him and his ceremony. Again, as I started out talking about in this hour, it's all performative and trying to be intimidation for the American people. This is what he did.
Lastly, sir, this is an executive order on flag burning. It charges your attorney general.
Would you listen to this? This is very important. Flag burning. All over the country, they're burning flags. All over the world, they burn the American flag. And as you know, through a very sad court, I guess it was a 5-4 decision, they called it freedom of speech. But there's another reason, which is perhaps much more important. It's called death. Because what happens when you burn a flag is the area goes crazy. If you have hundreds of people, they go crazy. You could do other things. You can burn this piece of paper. You can, but when you burn the American flag, it incites riots at levels that we've never seen before. People go crazy. In a way, both ways. There are some that are going crazy for doing it. There are others that are angry about them doing it.
What a clown. What a little baby dummy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. So all of the country, first off, all of the country, they're burning American flags. So all of the country, they're burning American flags. You've seen them. You have no examples of it, but they're all of the countries doing it. So you have to sign this executive order to limit people's First Amendment rights. It's weird how he keeps violating the Constitution with these random game show segments that he keeps doing in front of cameras while this guy hands him some folder to sign some bullshit about. But what he's talking about is there's burnings everywhere, just like there's crime everywhere in all these cities where crime is going down. Isn't it weird how everything he says is in direct opposition to reality, your real life lived reality? But again, I want, there's indications of this guy's extreme fascism. He said a sad court once ruled 5-4 that this is okay. A sad court, because his opinion should trump a sad court that he doesn't like its rulings that protect people's First Amendment rights to do these types of things. He gets to overrule that by signing an executive order with a scribble scrabble signature over the top of it. But the main reason is people go crazy. I mean, they go crazy. People lose their minds. It's like it jumps out of their brain and they can't control themselves, and riots start. So if riots start over someone burning an American flag, you have to sign an executive order to make it illegal. You know what else riots have started over? Not sure if he knows this. Riots have started over police unlawfully killing American citizens in the streets, in their cars, in their homes. That's what those riots that you guys were pissed about in 2020 were started over policing and intentional killing of people because they figure the citizens of this country aren't going to care about these lesser, lower class citizens that Donald Trump deems partial human beings. That's what starts riots. Are you going to sign an executive order that police should stop over policing and killing people and pulling out guns as soon as they see a black person driving in a car? Are you going to sign executive orders to keep police from frisking folks and detaining them on the streets the way you've unleashed them on folks in Washington, D.C.? No, he's making things up because his name is Donald Trump. It wasn't even the last thing he said. He went for several minutes on this. I'm going to give you guys the next section of how he went from that declaration of riots starting and people losing their minds to then him talking about what this executive order will do to what people, to people who want to burn the American flag, and see where this cartoon heads next.
Do you want to discuss that?
Sure. So what the executive order does, sir, it charges your Department of Justice with investigating instances of flag burning. And then where there's evidence of criminal activity, where prosecution wouldn't fall afoul of the First Amendment, and instructs the Department of Justice to prosecute those who are engaged in these instances of flag burning.
And what the penalty is going to be, if you burn a flag, you get 1 year in jail, no early exits, no nothing. You get 1 year in jail. If you burn a flag, you get, and what it does is incite to riot. I hope they use that language, by the way. Did they?
Yeah,
incite to riot. And you burn a flag, you get 1 year in jail. You don't get 10 years, you don't get 1 month. You get 1 year in jail, and it goes on your record. And you will see flag burning stopping immediately, just like when I signed the Statute and Monument Act. 10 years in jail if you hurt any of our beautiful monuments. Everybody left town. They were gone. Never had a problem after that. It's pretty amazing. We stopped it. But this is something that's, I don't know, in a certain way, it's equally as important. Some people would say it's more important because the people in this country don't want to see our American flag burned and spit on. And by people that are, in many cases, paid agitators. They're paid by the radical left to do it. You talk to these people, they don't even know, half of them don't even know what they're doing. They say, I don't know, they gave me money to do this.
Who was he talking to? I mean, I talked to these people, these radical leftists. They were paid agitators. You know, they came into the White House and they said, Mr. President, I was paid, and I don't know what I was doing. I mean, my brain left my head, and then they paid me $35, so I started burning American flags. If you actually just stop and listen to the stupid shit he says, you'll see how childlike these lies are. I don't know. I mean, these radical leftists, which radical leftists? And who are the people that talked to you and said that they didn't know what they were doing when they burned the American flag? They just did it. Oh, and by the way, he also signed some kind of opposition to Statue and Monuments Act so that people don't destroy his Confederate statues because, you know, he's a fucking racist. After that, we never had a problem after that. Never had a problem. Maybe because you didn't have a problem before you came up with that whole line of nonsense about how there's this huge problem. Isn't it weird? He creates problems in his brain and then tells everybody that's what it is. Then he solves them and says, look what I just solved. Give me more money. Or, as a matter of fact, I've been stealing from you and you've been distracted for the past 3 days as I've done this. But don't forget what the guy said at the beginning, the one who's explaining it to him. He said, this is to be prosecutable if it doesn't violate their First Amendment. So anybody that does some flag burning, think about this circular logic. If you do flag burning, your Department of Justice will be charged with prosecuting you if it doesn't violate your First Amendment. That means they can't do anything. That's all it means. It means they can't do anything. He's signing an executive order that means nothing. Do you guys want to hear that part again? Listen to what that idiot says. The one who's explaining things to him every time he hands him an executive order folder. Listen.
Do you want to discuss that?
Sure. So what the executive order does, sir, it charges your Department of Justice with investigating instances of flag burning, and then where there's evidence of criminal activity, where prosecution wouldn't fall afoul of the First Amendment, and instructs the Department of Justice to prosecute.
Where prosecution wouldn't fall afoul of the First Amendment, then we'd prosecute. It means nothing. He's a presentation president, but all the people behind him are doing all the dirty work of taking away your rights while he's acting like this is a big deal. That's why when he handed it to me, he went, this is a big deal. Listen to this. Listen to the most insignificant thing of the day. So they did arrest that veteran, by the way. And you won't be surprised to hear that they had to release that veteran because they couldn't violate his First Amendment rights.
He's out. Okay, so if you saw the video earlier of the veteran that was burning the flag in protest of Donald Trump's executive order, this is him. He's out of jail. So walk us through. You got picked up by Secret Service, then what?
Yep, got searched, handcuffed, put in the back of one of their rides, sat there for a while. They were arguing with Park Police on who had jurisdiction. Park finally had jurisdiction. They put me in the back of their car, a shitty ass fucking car to ride in the back of, by the way. Wound up back over at their holding cell, their D cell, as they call it, D1.
Yeah, you were District 1.
Yeah, District 1.
I found out. Yeah.
Got, they felt the need to search me 3 times. So what, 4 hours?
Yeah.
4 hours?
It's been about 4 hours right now.
So 4 hours, and then
so what they eventually charge you with?
They charged me with lighting a fire in a park.
So so to make sure everybody understands your message, why did you do this to begin with?
I did this in protest of what Donald Trump did with that executive order, saying that it was illegal to burn an American flag. He can't make orders, and I want to put it to the test, so I did. And
you're not in jail for a year.
I'm not in jail for a year.
Crazy how that works. They don't do anything but waste your time and your money and then intimidate you. They will arrest you, but they can't do much after that. That's in this particular instance. But again, they figure they can do it to other folks who don't know enough of their rights, or enough people will be like, who cares about that guy? He's just an immigrant. That's what they're hoping for. It's intimidation tactics. I know we've gone over a bit, but I got a couple more here if you guys hang around. If not, you will see the rest of this whole thing up on the page afterwards. Of course, subscribe, share this stream, come check us out afterwards when these things get cut down. But I saw one of you guys mention something that was on my mind too. You know, that sad decision that Donald Trump said about whether or not you can do flag burning in that sad court. It's weird because, you know, this one guy that was on that court that was a part of that decision, he's no longer with us, but he did talk about what he feels about flag burning versus what the Constitution may say. And this guy is a total, like, hardcore conservative former justice of the Supreme Court. You guys might know who I'm talking about. If not, here he is.
If I were king, I would not allow people to go about burning the American flag. However, we have a First Amendment which says that the right of free speech shall not be abridged. And it is addressed in particular to speech critical of the government. I mean, that was the main kind of speech that tyrants would seek to suppress. Burning the flag is a form of expression. Speech doesn't just mean written words or oral words. It could be semaphore. Burning a flag is a symbol that expresses an idea. I hate the government is unjust, whatever.
If you're not sure, then in the end, and no one knows the Constitution better than you do, doesn't it come down to your personal interpretation of the Constitution? If it isn't clear cut, which it clearly isn't, you in the end have to make an opinion, don't you?
Well, don't forget this person has to be convicted by a jury of 12 people who unanimously have to find that he was inciting to riot. So, it's not all up to me. It would be up to me to say that there was not enough evidence for the jury to find that, perhaps. But ultimately, the right of jury trial is the protection.
Antonin Scalia. Isn't it weird how he sounds versus what this dictator sounds like? And Antonin Scalia was, this guy is now just saying, I can do what I want. Antonin Scalia said, if I were king, yeah, I would stop people from burning the American flag because I don't like it. But it's someone's freedom of their First Amendment rights of expression. I don't like the government, were some of his examples. I don't like the oppressive nature of the government. And Donald Trump wants to stop all of that. I'm just wondering when the people who said this guy's not a fascist dictator wannabe are gonna finally admit that he is. And again, it doesn't stop at the name calling. It stops at then realizing it so you can go, wait a second. What else would this fascist dictator do to me in my life? Because he's gonna do it if you keep letting him get away with it. Last little piece here, guys, just because this was funny. Again, this is at his flag burning executive order ceremony. I want you guys to know that's what he was talking about, because this is where he somehow went on this tangent. Because again, this guy is a presentation president. He uses poster boards and puppets and tries to make people think their reality isn't real. But this is where he went. This is just funny.
He's out. Okay.
No, I'm sorry, no, not that one. It's Trump. Here, let's end that. Stop it. This one.
I see the same things that you do. They're bad people that are trying to destroy our nation. That's not working because I think our nation now is the most respected nation anywhere in the world by far. You saw that with the European leaders on Friday. You saw that with NATO, where they agreed to go from 2% no pay to 5% fully paid up, trillions of dollars paid, where they respect your president to a level that they jokingly call me the president of Europe. They call me the president of Europe, which is an honor. I like Europe and I like those people. They're good people. They're great leaders. And we've never had a case where 7 plus really 28, essentially 38 countries were represented here the other day. 38 European countries were European and other countries were represented. And it was a great meeting. But your country is respected again. I say it all the time. 1 year ago, our country was dead. Everybody said it. We had a dead country. We were not going to survive. Now we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. So it's an honor to be involved. And this group has a lot to do with it right behind me. Does anybody behind me have any?
Anybody behind me have any toilet paper? Because I just shit my pants. Loser, fucking loser. We're the hottest country ever. You know, 38 European countries. They said I'm the president of Europe now. I can't believe it. You know, it's amazing. You know, but we're the hottest country ever. You know, they said a year ago that we're dead. He just rambles, bro. He just rambles, and these idiots stand behind him like, that's right, that's right, Mr. President. Oh, good job. Oh, yeah, good job. Pat on your head. Oh, would you like your anus kissed or your ass cheek? Which one today, Mr. President? JD Vance. It's embarrassing, bro. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. They have to go home to their wives, husbands, and families, and then their kids look up and go, "Hey, Dad, what'd you do today?" "Oh, man, just got to get this hair out of my teeth because I was kissing Trump's ass all day as he said stupid shit all day about nothing." By the way, I don't know if you guys remember this. I'm gonna leave now, but he said we're the hottest country in the world. That is, unless he's standing in Saudi Arabia in front of their leadership. And then he made sure to point out there's no way he would say that America's the hottest country ever over them. You know why? Because he's a little bitch. My dogs are barking. We'll see you guys later. Enjoy the damage report 10 minutes later. For those of you guys that hung around and they're going to go over there, I appreciate you. I'll be back on tomorrow at noon Eastern. Please tell your friends, tell your family. My mom already knows. But share the stream, like it. These videos will be up later. Tell the folks who had to leave that they can check out the best back end of that they missed. But I think it's about time. The resistance has to eventually come. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Appreciate you. See you later. See you, Dad. See you, Pop.